with a fleet of brand new aircraft, a brand new terminal, spacious lounges, world-class service and warm African hospitality, Kenya Airways is now more than ever the pride of Africa. Kenya Airways, connecting Africa to the world and the world to Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chris. It's a pleasure to be here with you in London. Just for the people who don't know who is Chris, just start by telling us your portfolio, like what you're doing, what you're in charge of, and what your job basically entails.
Well, Julius, you're a special friend of Kenya and Africa, and also you're based in London, being also an international news supporter for the region, and also communicating a lot of great things about Kenya. Myself, I'm in Brand Africa, a trustee in Brand Africa, which is a Pan-Africa body that is marketing all 54 countries to the rest of the world. And I'm also in Brand Kenya. As you know, Brand Kenya is marketing Kenya to pull in more investors, more tourists, and also for promoting the country internally. And my other key role is marketing director for Kenya Airways, the national carrier, the pride of Africa, which is truly a warm, caring African airline. And we're very proud to say that some of our best products, like the new Dreamliner 787, is flying to the London route, to Amsterdam, and also to the Paris. So the key European cities Kenya Airways is flying to as one of the best state-of-art aircrafts.
Do you find your job very challenging, or do you enjoy it?
Julius, nothing is easy. Everything is challenging, but it's about prioritization and about being passionate. And of course, Kenya is a great nation, great people, a very diverse nation. And Kenya is famous for the hospitality. The people of Kenya are very hospitable. And I think marketing a great country, great destinations like the Mara, Amboseli, look at the beautiful beaches, award-winning beaches in both in Watamu and also in Diani. This was big. I think the most exciting thing about the work and the pride moments was when during the World Travel Awards 2016, Kenya won over 20 awards from the beach, the best cities, the best parks, the best airline in Africa, the best hotels, the best facilities. This really showed Kenya has a very big and special brand experience for the rest of the world.
That's very good news. Now, in terms of what you do, you come across a lot of different stories going out there. Some are brilliant, just like you mentioned, but sometimes others are challenging, others are focused on challenges you are dealing with. Now, we are talking about Kenya. At the moment, the rest of the world watches the tear gassing, the politics, and the coming election, and they think, is it going to be safe? Are there any indications from your point of view and experience that things will be okay come 2017, the year of election?
Well, I think, Julius, that's a very strategic question, and we are positive. Kenya, again, is a very strong nation in Africa, is well respected. We see from a perspective of tourism, the indicators are, for example, Radisson Blu has just put up new beautiful facilities. iTunes is opening in July 2016. Marriott, all the other big brands are coming into Kenya. So for sure, there is confidence in the tourism industry. Again, we also have new CS, Najib Balala, who is coming with very big campaigns in terms of attracting more investors coming into the region. So we see a lot of domestic tourism also. Kenyans are a big contributor to the domestic tourism. So when the elections are going to happen, already there's a big domestic support within the region. There's a lot of the East Africans and the expatriates living within the East African countries coming into Kenya as a country for supporting the tourism. I see the other indicators are the UN, the Habitat, and UNEP have their headquarters. There are a lot of foreign investments coming into Kenya in terms of multinationals investments. Also in terms of FDI investments, Kenya, again, if you see the Ernst & Young report, which just came out recently, positions Kenya as one of the big investment hubs in Africa. So the indicators are showing very positive signs. Naturally, everywhere in the world today there are challenges. If you look, for example, at Israel, which has a lot of security issues, but they have consistently over 3 million tourists going annually into their country. So it's all about positioning the country and making sure that the attractions and the destination is giving high value and quality to the visitors coming in. But yes, for the elections, it's very important that brand Kenya and the country positions itself to the rest of the world positively to maintain also the growth. And also in Africa, closer to general elections, Julius, you will always find that things tend to slow down while the world watches the stability and how the election progresses.
Yeah, it's quite normal. It's not peculiar. It's a situation that most countries get themselves into. Any election in any country, no one knows what's going to happen. I mean, we're in the UK. We are talking about whether Britain should leave the EU or stay. And there are issues if they leave, which are economically and politically as well. So I think just a general election may not impact upon tourism that much. In terms of marketing, you are in charge of a very powerful brand, the Pride of Africa. So far, we've got a bit of press talking about, in poor performance in terms of Kenya Airways. Would you say that when you look into the future, the Pride of Africa will still be the Pride of Africa?
That's a good question. Definitely the future of the Pride of Africa is going to be excellent. It's a great brand. It's the global brand. It's a national carrier. It's just won Best Airline in Africa at the World Travel Awards. It's won the business class 4 years in a row. If you look at what the guests are saying, because the guests will really determine how the Pride of Africa will perform in the next few months and in the years ahead, is about revenue generation from the guests, and not only from the guests in terms of passengers, but also from cargo, because Kenya Airways lifts almost over 60,000 tons of cargo annually. So the cargo business is really a big amount of contribution to the future of the Pride of Africa. But Kenya Airways has a great future. The reason why I say this is that Kenya Airways has a very strong Africa footprint. Now with additional flights going to happen to Cape Town, there are over 42 cities in Africa. So Kenya Airways connects Africa to the world. And if this is done in a very well and giving the customer experience excellence, then they will see more customers coming in. Again, it's also to be more competitive in terms of giving a very high value for money. It's not just the price, but it's also the value from the brand experience. Kenyans are very loyal to Kenya Airways, and you'll find that Kenya Airways flies 4.2 million passengers annually. That is a lot of people coming into Africa, and then Kenya Airways connects them to the rest of Africa. So the strength of Kenya Airways is to position the international trade development, bring investors into Kenya, is a significant contributor to the economy of Kenya. I'm happy to share with you, Julius, that Kenya Airways brings the highest number of tourists into Kenya, and also flies the highest number of tourists into various other great destinations across Africa. And we are at the moment flying over 10,000 passengers annually, over 10,000 passengers daily, or over 300,000 passengers monthly. The consistency definitely shows Kenya Airways will rise, and the future of Kenya Airways will be positive.
Let's talk about rugby. Okay, we are in London, and Kenya Airways is involved with the rugby. What is the relationship between the two for people who don't actually know?
That's an excellent question, and I like that, Julius. The reason being because besides you loving rugby, the whole nation, the whole continent is supporting and loves rugby. And besides Kenya is also South Africa that is also doing very well in rugby. But the national carrier is the title sponsor, and you'll be able to see first and foremost that the brand, the pride of the national carrier is being able to be seen globally. So that already one contribution is employment. So the national carrier really brings, in terms of employing internally, about nearly 4,000 staff. But if you look at what the sponsorship really brings value, is the development of sports. And this is to bring the professionalism in rugby, especially working in partnership with Kenya Rugby Union, with the Minister of Sports and Ministry of Sports, is to develop from grassroots. So this is the youth empowerment, the youth development. Then there is also the women rugby who are also going for the Olympics like the men. So Kenya Airways has been doing, I wouldn't really say it's CSR, but it's women empowerment and women leadership development. And one of the big support that Kenya Airways does is the sustenance and the sustainability of developing economies and supporting investment and sports development. So from a perspective of looking at how Kenya Airways supports leadership, is also bringing people together. We see the whole nation is together. We have no difference when it comes to supporting Kenya winning the Singapore event or going to win the Olympics, and I'm sure that Kenya will win gold in the Olympics. So there is also the aspect of branding the nation, and also bringing us together to support and also to have youth development in terms of long term. Right now you'll see that the under 15 team has been flying with Kenya Airways internationally, and this has also been helping them to be able to get more into the senior team. So basically Kenya Airways is developing youth, women and the senior team. But all in all, you see there's a long-term strategy that for the next few years Kenya will still continue to excel to be a leader in rugby.
And also back in East Africa on the ground, you're involved in Safari Rally. How does it work?
That's a very big event. I'll tell you why. It contributes greatly and is a significant contributor to the tourism industry. One is the rally is held as a classic rally, so it also brings in a lot of tourists. So there is the World Rally, former champions who come to participate, but they have a whole management team and they all fly into Kenya and into Mombasa. So the support in Mombasa is very strategic because the tourism tourists and tourism have been facing some challenges at the coast, and this is contributing now, especially around getting more tourists coming into Kenya, into the coast. And the success of this event is also to market and position Kenya, because a lot of the international media that covers the rally is actually positioning Kenya as a great country, as a great holiday destination, and also as a great sports destination. The other thing today, billions of dollars are being invested into sports tourism. And for both Kenya Airways and for the Kenya government to have the rally every year in Kenya is really bringing a lot of revenue and contributing greatly to the GDP and contributes to a higher number of tourists coming into the country.
And what other ventures do you support back in East Africa or in Kenya?
Julius, I hope that you're a golf player because Kenya Airways.
That's the way I'm gonna retire.
Yeah, you should be playing more golf.
Just waiting.
Yeah.
Until I'm like 2 more years and then.
Well, Kenya is a great golfing nation also.
It is, yeah.
And you see that Kenya Airways has every year they have their golf, the KQ Golf Series that brings 28-30 countries to have a big golf competition, and then it culminates in the finals in Kenya. So they brings a lot of opportunities for culture, for sports, and also for people also to travel across and to see the different destinations, because Kenya Airways flies to 60 or so destinations, and they're able to connect you through their other partners in the Sky Team. So within the Sky Team, Kenya Airways now works with 20 other airlines and connects you to over 1,000 destinations globally. So when the golf events are being done, we also can fly you to see new destinations, new places. At the same time, you also compete with in the golf competitions.
Well, that sounds great. So in terms of, again, Kenya Airways, when we talk about the diaspora, this is where we are, what is it that you can tell them to change their mind, thinking that I can't travel with Kenya Airways? Maybe they never get it right when they're trying to book, or maybe they find the prices a bit not to their liking. What message can you just tell them?
Yeah, but Julius, a lot of the diaspora coming back into Kenya, coming home, and also the Africa diaspora flying back into various Africa countries, travel on Kenya Airways regularly. And how we have done this is also by building partnerships with the diaspora in Dubai, in Dallas, in New York, in Washington, in London. You're also part of the big supporters of the diaspora out here in London, the diaspora in South Africa. So what we do is we offer very special rates, and whenever the rugby team is also playing in Vegas or the rugby team is playing in Dubai, we ensure that the diaspora are heavily engaged with supporting Kenya, but also they also fly home and they come regularly to come into the Africa countries, especially Kenya. Special pricings are always offered. We have partnerships signed with the East African business communities for the diaspora in the various cities across the world, and we continue to offer these special offers throughout, especially even during our low season is when we would like to offer promotional offers that are very attractive. And mostly around your question is for them to buy online, because even they can buy online or from the travel agents, and online by planning and booking ahead, we have some really fantastic deals for them to come back home. And there is nothing like flying on the national carrier. It's great pride for them to come back home on Kenya Airways.
And also the convenience of flying direct to Nairobi from London.
Oh yes, in fact London, daily flights from London is flying on really some beautiful aircrafts. If you look at also our food and the entire experience is really a Kenyan experience. I mean, if you look at Paris and if you look at Amsterdam, all the direct flights on a Dreamliner 787, and the entire experience is really based on a Kenyan brand, and it's very exciting to fly, enjoying the coffee from Kenya, the Kenyan tea, and the fresh produce of Kenyans. As you know, also we also produce some of the best flowers in the world, so even some of our flowers are flown with Kenya Airways. Our meals are all based on fresh produce that is grown out in Kenya and is shared in terms of the brand experience.
Yeah, the recent changes within Kenya Airways, especially with flight rescheduling, have thrown some people in the diaspora off balance. Some are like, I didn't want that flight change, like the night one, where you arrive in Nairobi daytime. And some people I come across, they're like, did they have to change? And if they changed, are the ones that are happening now better? Or is it almost the same as the previous situation?
Well, I think it all depends on the convenience and the timing of the guest and of the various diaspora markets. For example, in out of Amsterdam and out of Paris, if you're connecting from the two cities, so you have a choice to fly through Paris into Nairobi, or Amsterdam into Nairobi, and London into Nairobi. So it depends on the convenience of the timings. But so far we have seen that a number of the guests are adjusting to the changes. We still fly in the evening out of London, but what is happening is that Kenya is able to optimize the aircraft. Before, the aircraft used to sit in the morning when it lands up to the evening, and really for efficient running of the airline, it is very important for the aircraft to be flying and turning around within a few hours and to fly back home. So we see the efficiency of the equipment, and that is also being passed on to our guests, because we also need to be very competitively priced, and our guests are really very looking at getting a good price and a good experience to fly back home into Kenya. But we connect very well to the rest of Africa.
You want just to tell us exactly what, in terms of Brand Kenya, the government, under the Brand Kenya, the government has done to attract more people to fly to Kenya?
So for example, the government is encouraging more chartered flights into Mombasa, into Malindi, into other cities, and giving a certain level of incentives for every passenger. There is about $30 incentive if they're able to bring 80% per each aircraft into Mombasa. So a number of charter flights have increased. So this is very important for sustenance and also development of the coastal tourism environment. As far as Kenya Airways is concerned, again, we fly a lot of the tourists into Nairobi, which is the main hub city, and then from Nairobi, of course, they connect to Mombasa or to Kisumu, also through Jambo Jet to Eldoret. So in terms of incentives, the government is also giving a lot of incentives to refurbish so that the quality of the hotels are able to go to a much higher level. Besides, Kenya Airways also has a brand new Terminal 1A. So as the customers or guests who fly as tourists into Terminal 1, they get a high quality of the lounges, the facilities. The arrivals terminals is brand new now, it's just been opened. It also means the hotels and the services and the facilities, the hospitality has to be really of high quality. And you'll find that all different segments of tourists come into Kenya, in terms of from the much more expensive, richer markets, and also the other guests who are in the economies. So we need to really upscale and upgrade the quality of tourist facilities. What else do we do as Brand Kenya? So Brand Kenya is doing a lot of campaigns.
Yeah.
Both Brand Kenya and the Kenya Tourism Board are really marketing the country aggressively, both in existing markets and new markets. So from the Asia markets, you're seeing a lot of tourists coming into Kenya. And also you're seeing markets like Russia and other key markets in Europe are also by marketing has attracted a lot of tourists, the high-end tourists coming into the country. If you look at some of the awards that Kenya has won, the Masai Mara today is the 8th wonder of the world. It continues to bring in a lot of tourists for seeing the Great Migration. That's very powerful for Kenya. But again, that has certain months. But the beach, Diani and Watamu are award-winning beaches. Again, if you look at the cities, the culture, the sports, the music, Kenya is now really giving a big brand experience. And more tourists are even coming for shopping experience, and also multi experience. That means they want to do the bush safari, they want to do the beach, and they also want to experience Kenya from a culture perspective. And also Kenya is also very famous for sports, so you see a lot of tourists coming out also to attend some of the big events like the Rugby Safari Sevens. Some of the other sports tourists go out to Lona Kiplagat high altitude training in Eldoret. So there's a lot of visitors coming in for mountain bike racing and also other sport activities such as kite surfing. And you saw recently when the minister was on diving from skydiving.
Yeah, I saw
so
that.
all these sports are really attracting a lot of tourists into the country.
Marketing Africa, how does that work?
Yeah, Africa is the future. Africa has the greatest destinations in the world. In fact, when you're coming out to Africa, sometimes there is so much beautiful destinations from the rivers to the waterfalls to the attractions such as Cape Town, the wonderful Kilimanjaro, the world famous Kilimanjaro. If you look at the various
Great Rift Valley.
Yeah, so there's so much to be done in Africa, and that's why you see more and more tourists coming every year, and there are repeat guests coming into Africa. Again, Africa has also some of the best islands. So in terms of tourism, over 60 million tourists come into Africa every year, and this is it's a big opportunity for even entrepreneurs, for the leaders and the people of Africa to start up tourism resorts and tourism businesses, because there is high level of visitors coming into the region. So for Brand Africa continues to position the continent as a very special experience, and this will mean that there'll be more investors coming into Africa to put more hotels. And you can see that very clearly, like now Marriott is putting new hotels across the whole region. This will also definitely position Brand Africa in terms of not only the experience but creating employment and also creating high quality of facilities that we require in the region.
There's been this issue of integration of East African countries, and also the issue of joint visa.
Yes.
How does that work?
So for that's really a very important question, because intra-Africa is the biggest opportunity first for within tourists. So we have tourists going from Kenya into Uganda and Tanzania, and there's also international tourists coming into the region. So it's much easier now that you have single visa opportunities in various East Africa countries. And then at the same time, if you look at trade and development within the East Africa region is growing. So there's a lot of movement for people. So sometimes you, Julius, when you're visiting Kenya, but you also want to visit Kenya for business and you want to visit Kenya for a holiday. So end of your business trip, you go on holiday. So that still contributes towards tourism. And the visa has been single visa. You can go into Uganda and you can go into Rwanda and Burundi. This is giving you an opportunity now to go to various other countries. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for tourists even now to be able to get their visas online. So the international tourists can be able to process a visa online, and it is more convenient also for collection of the revenue. Yes.
Yeah, because when it's done electronically, it's pretty easy to access, and instead of having to.
And everything in Kenya now is moving to a seamless. It's very strong digitally. At the same time, they also have brand new facilities. So if you're coming into a brand new terminal at the airport and already you have your visa, the entire experience becomes so high quality that you go back and tell other people how wonderful Kenya is and how easy it is to travel into Kenya. And Kenya is very safe. You find a lot of powerful dignitaries have come in. The Pope was there, President Obama was there, a lot of big personalities coming to Kenya. We had very big world congresses such as WTO, ATA, and then we now have UNCTAD, which is going to happen in 2016, and then you've got TICA. This is the Tokyo International Conference going to happen in 2016, and then in 2017, Julius, I think even you'll be coming because it's the World Youth Sports is going to be, for the first time, the World Youth Sports is going to be held in Kenya.
We really have to be there.
So they're headed, and I'm sure that you will be flying on Kenya Airways to come and attend the event.
Yeah, that would be really good.
Thank you.
It's good to engage with the youth.
Yes. One thing that I think that is so important, and this is, Julius, that is very much to your heart, my heart, and the future of Kenya, and to the future of the people of Africa, is the protection of the wildlife. As you saw recently, His Excellency the President, and we must thank him when he burnt over 106 tons of ivory and rhino horns. That was a message to the world that how important it is for us to protect our resources, especially wildlife. And wildlife is significant because not only that we want to see the animals, and your children, my children, everyone's children should be able to see the wildlife, but the wildlife contributes a lot into tourism, and you will be able to see a lot of tourists coming into Africa, more into Kenya, because of the wildlife. And if the wildlife are going to be poached, and soon there'll be no elephants, no lions, no rhinos, then we will have no tourists coming to our beautiful country. It's so important that we all must come together and support the protection of our wildlife.
And of course, Kenya Airways does that very well with the Born Free movement.
Oh yes, I'm sure that you've been on board on Kenya Airways and contributed in the envelope. So basically our guests, we work in partnership with Born Free International. They have projects in 50 countries across the world. And it is our guests really who we thank sincerely, who contribute their change, and the project is called Change Brings Change. So they're able to contribute their change, and then our in-flight team collects the funds. It's well accounted for, and then all the different currencies we partner with Travelex, who then converts it into a US dollar, and then the funds are put together. And for example, we've been contributing the funds towards Kenya Wildlife Services, and working with Kenya Wildlife Services now, they have reported both the white rhino and the black rhino, the numbers have gone up. So the contribution goes very much to protection of the wildlife, and that again is directly related to tourism in Kenya.
That's good.
Yeah, and this
Africa will not be Africa with no wildlife.
I agree fully with you, Julius. That is a very key statement you have said.
Yeah. I know we have East Africa Community, which we just got a new addition. South Sudan is part of East Africa.
True.
Now, in terms of Africa as a whole, because I'm talking to you as someone who sits on the board of Brand Africa. In terms of Africa, how is the integration shaping up?
Well, that's a fantastic question, Julius. And as the different countries market and come together as integrating Africa, but they also increase international trade between various Africa huge economies. And the shaping up now is coming with the discussion into final possibilities of a very big market power coming within COMESA, SADC, and the East African community coming into one free trade zone. this will be able to give them not only market power, but also to be able to encourage more manufacturing and greater trade between the countries. And this will also create employment at the same time, to create big brands, so the marketing of these brands into trading among themselves, but also to be able to trade with other regions across the world. The integration and the future of Africa very much depends on the finalization of the tripartite agreements, and to be able to work where people can cross freely into the regions, and also not only encourage tourism, investments, but also trade, and to have unitary monetary considerations, and also be able to have free movement among the countries.
So we're talking about expanding the area within which you can walk freely, because one of the biggest challenge was to travel within Africa, different countries in Africa, because of the visa issues and regulation and red tape.
Yeah, and this will also come together, because also a lot of the economies will be having huge. For example, if you look at some of the companies like Bitco, you look at the Chandaria groups, you look at the Kenya Commercial Bank, you look at Equity Bank, they are going right across Africa, and they're able to not only trade, but they're able to finance, and they're able to grow together as an Africa continent. And that synergy is going to be very important for the people of Africa as the economies grow.
That's good news for Africa.
Thanks, thank you.
Okay. Yeah,
I look forward to seeing you also
Yeah.
when you're next in Nairobi.